On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, spoiler alert, we still have nothing in terms of headway on the defensive coordinator search. News could drop anywhere though, so maybe while we're recording this, it'll come out and we can break down some breaking news. But we are going to talk a little bit. LSU stole another guy from Mizzou's defensive coaching staff, so we'll touch briefly on that. And then we're going to mostly take the rest of the Mizzou portion of the show just to recap the men's basketball game against Florida, talk more about what went wrong as the Tigers are still searching for a win in SEC play. We'll talk about Tamar Bates, of course, too, the bright spot for the Tigers on Saturday evening. Give a little glimpse forward at Texas A&M, the next SEC game. But yeah, not much good to go on once again for Mizzou men's basketball. Then we'll do quick hits. We got Ken's sports shorts. We got the fraud rankings, dirty birds of the weekend, and the ratio. So some fun stuff to dive into. And again, maybe the defensive coordinator news will break. We'll get breaking news on the show. But again, your guess is as good as mine when that's going to happen. So we'll see, but a good show nonetheless to dive into. And before we get started, quick word from the sponsor, BetOnline. NFL playoffs are in full swing. So is the NBA season, and BetOnline has you covered with all the up-to-second odds, news, and scores. Some good divisional games last week, or yesterday, I should say. I guess recording on Sunday. They'll affect the Fantastic Four picks. But with additional odds, lines, trends, and info on both desktop and mobile devices, you can access the world's best wagering information at any time. So head to BetOnline today to get in on the action and see all the updated odds. And remember to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, thank you to them. We're going to do our BetOnline best beats of the week. So Kenny, what's your best beat of the week?
Yeah, let's watch some Colonial basketball on a Monday night. Hofstra going up to Stony Brook, a battle of New York. I got Hofstra -3 in this game. If you didn't know, Hofstra's old mascot was the Flying Dutchman. It's now the Pride, which is pretty lame. But the Flying Dutchman was awesome. And I got to go with Hofstra in this one.
I'm going to go over to the Big Sky for Monday night basketball action. The Fighting Ed Changs from Idaho State. I'm not taking them as they visit the Bobcats, the home of the Fighting Raekwon battles. I got Montana State -4.5. Folks, Torvik has this one as 5.5. Get this one while you still can, because it's not going to be at 4.5 for long.
I'm sticking to mid-major basketball too. I'm going down to Texas. I'm going with Houston Christian. They are home underdogs against New Orleans. Truthfully, they're not very good, but I'm going with this because Houston Christian just beat Lamar on a buzzer beater, folks. Houston Christian is hot. They're feeling it. A good friend of ours back from the KCOU days, Garrett Jones, if you know, you know. He is the play-by-play voice of Houston Christian. So his call of said Marcus Green, buzzer beater, guard for Houston Christian, went a little viral. That was hype. Peyton, help me out. Houston Christian's mascot.
Huskies.
The Huskies. They're on a tear. They're feeling hot. They're going to take down New Orleans. Or at least cover the Privateers. Also kind of a lame mascot name. 2.5. I got the Huskies. But yeah, those are our best beats. We love some good mid-major basketball. We'll be back on Friday. We'll have the Fantastic Four recap because we'll do the conference championship games. So, Kenny will give a reshuffle of the standings with where that lies. Kenny and Peyton in a battle for first. But for now, enjoy some mid-major basketball. And with that, the Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, January 22nd. And Peyton, I'm starting to think Kenny's working against us because he's gone to this LSU site. He's doing some extra work. He does great work. But, since then, Mizzou's now lost 3 staff members on the defensive side of the ball to the Tigers. I don't know. Kenny might be on the inside. I don't know how much he can be trusted anymore. He might be trying to poach all of Mizzou's coaches. I don't know, but regardless, Mizzou. That's really the headline news. It's not been much. We haven't had any real waves on the defensive coordinator front. So now I've just had to start making up conspiracy theories as to Kenny stealing analysts who have joined LSU. If you didn't see this, Jake Olsen, he was a defensive analyst for the last 2 seasons at Mizzou. Helped with the linebackers primarily. He is joining Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples on the LSU staff, and he is going to be in charge, I believe, of the safeties. I think they have their own secondaries coach, so he's going to take over some duties there. But yeah, I don't know, Peyton. Is Kenny stealing Mizzou's coaches? And thoughts on another guy moving on from the Tigers?
Well, he can steal as many Jake Olsens as he wants. I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't know who this was at first. Neither did Twitter, it really seemed like. So, I mean, he was just an analyst at Mizzou. It seemed like a true Blake Baker disciple. I mean, he's just following around somewhere. So maybe he's a name you may hear down the line, something like that. Maybe if Blake Baker gets a head coaching job, maybe this will be a guy he takes as a DC or something. You never know. But this one, I don't think will hurt Mizzou too bad. Baker sucked to lose. People suck to lose. This one, I think I can stomach. But who knows? Maybe the new DC would have wanted to keep him. I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, it's interesting for Jake Olsen. He is a North Dakota kid, but a lot of his coaching experience comes from the state of Louisiana, Nichols State, Louisiana Monroe, Northwestern, and he did spend a season as an analyst with LSU before he followed Blake Baker to Missouri for those 2 seasons. It looks like the guy just wanted to get back to his roots and got a promotion in the process. So look out for Jake Olsen down the line as a safeties coach in the SEC.
Yeah. You don't have anything to say for yourself, Kenny? The accusations I've just made against you, stealing the coaches?
Need my lawyer.
That's the right answer. Yeah, I guess we'll see. It feels like I was watching the Packers-Niners game last night, and they showed the Vrabel Shanahan. They've been, they were with each other before they took different jobs. Maybe that's how this is with Olsen and Baker, smaller scale. But yeah, that's really it. Everyone I think is still kind of waiting. We seem to be aware that the DC news could kind of break at any time. It seems like it's been that way since like Thursday. So, who knows? With our luck, we'll finish recording this about midday Sunday, and it'll probably happen. So, and make our lives more tricky. But yeah, I mean, we'll keep everyone updated there with what information is out there. But, getting into, I guess, kind of the headliner from the weekend, of course, was Missouri men's basketball. They lost again. Florida, they welcomed to Mizzou Arena, lost 79-67. No field goals were made by the Tigers in the final 2 minutes and 57 seconds of this game. Feel like that's the story, as is a lot of the bad with Mizzou men's basketball. I feel like it's a story like every game. What were your initial thoughts on the game? I have some stats I wasn't able to watch. Read a bunch of recaps, saw some stuff about it, and kind of gathered what went on. But what were your thoughts? I know there was a certain Sean East moment that happened where he passed up on a layup, and I know there was an 8-0 run that was surrendered when Mizzou had the lead. Seems like it was the same old from this year's Tigers team.
Yeah, there's not too much to add at this point. It's just kind of piling on. I mean, it was the same issues. Mizzou gets a little lead, they hang around for a bit, and there's one run that kind of kills them, and it was that 8-0 run. When Shawnee's passed up an open layup and just turned the ball. I don't know what was wrong with Shawnee's last night. I know he was sick on Tuesday against Alabama. He might still be feeling it a bit because this was just not the same player. He kind of was sinking Mizzou. He had a lot of bad turnovers. Not the volume of scoring that he's had this year. If you're Shawnee's, you're allowed a bad game now and then, but the problem was there was only one other guy that stepped up in his place. I don't know, man. It's just depressing to even watch at this point. I just really never expected it to get quite this bad.
You always talk about, winning the middle 8 and, controlling the basketball in the middle half of the game. I thought this game it was very close, and even near the end of the middle eight, and going into that second half, and that's when Florida pulled away. They had a couple big shots there, and within like right around the under 16, and then just really kept building onto that and just kind of ran away with it. This has always felt like a game too. It's like Georgia. It's not necessarily a one-sided competition each year. Entering Saturday, the Tigers were 2-2 in the last 4 meetings with Florida. Always feels like a game that could go either way, depending on where it is. Florida just kind of ran away with it, out rebounded the Tigers 40-27. We talk about those turnovers. Tigers only had 5 in this game. 3 of them were to Sean East. Florida had 8. That was something that really stood out to me. I watched a lot of the first half and first 10 minutes of the second half, and I would have guessed that the Tigers had a couple more turnovers than Florida in this game. Those were some of my main ones. And when you have a guy like Tamar Bates dropping 36, someone else also has to get into double figures and not just Nick Honor with 10. It's just a glaring number on the box score.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with some of the numbers I saw from this game. I think we should talk about Tamar Bates, the good, and I think in large part, a guy who's we said and a lot of people think is going to be the future for this team next year when it kind of hits the reset button, tries to put this season behind him. I was reading Drew King's post game column, Kenny, and just to kind of qualify those turnover numbers, I think it was interesting. I heard like Florida turned the ball over a bunch when Mizzou put on that press, but then just kind of made adjustments and like limited it, for the rest of the game. But yeah, it's again, just, there's just not much to make of this team defensively or offensively for that matter. But let's talk about Tamar Bates. Some great stats for him that kind of are further damning for the rest of this team. Tamar Bates shot 13 for 21 in this game. The rest of Mizzou was 10 for 32. He scored 36 points on 21 shots. Every other player scored 31 points on 32 shots. I think it was like 55% of the team's scoring went to Tamar Bates. Just like Kenny said, not a recipe for success, but I think we should give Bates the praise he deserves. There's some really awesome scoring, and I think potential to be a worldly player. Hopefully next season when this team has other personnel around him to give him some sort of help.
Yeah, Tamar Bates, I mean, he's about the one person out of the portal that's really been kind of worth anything. I mean, I'd like to see him when he has actual talent around him. It's kind of ridiculous. You get a guy that scores 36 and you soundly lose by double digits. I mean, Mizzou was never really in it after that 8-0 run that put Florida ahead 7. Tamar Bates, I mean, on top of being maybe he has surpassed East at this point for being the go-to guy. I mean, he's also the most energetic on the floor. But I don't know, man. I mean, you've gotten basically nothing else out of the bigs this year. The guard play has been fine, but it's just ridiculous that Tamar Bates has 36 points and you're losing by 13 at home, mind you.
And he had that big 3, like really deep 3 over a Florida defender in this game going towards the student section. I don't know if you guys remember that. And it's just like the emotion he brought with that. That's just the shot you needed. And like no one else probably on that team makes that shot for you right now. We've talked about Sean East has improved his 3-point game, and Drew King talked with us about him as well. But that's the guy you need to bring energy to a team that's just kind of riddled with injuries and just no cohesiveness going forward.
Yeah, he's a guy who, you can tell, I think will be a enforcer of the culture as this team, figures that out, whether it's next year, like just his high energy. I like the emotion that he plays with. I think a team needs a guy like that, especially one who can score like he can. Impressive thing for me, he was only 1 for 4 from beyond the arc in this game. Took 21 shots, but, he made 13 of them. That's relatively efficient. He went 9 for 9 from the free throw line. So, that's indicative of, I feel like we talk about this guy's ability to hit shots from deep, but you can put the ball down and score and make some of those difficult shots that I think Mizzou sorely misses from a guy like DeAndre Golston. I think Tamar can bring you, some of that, and again, it can come in smaller doses. He shouldn't have to score 36 points for Mizzou to win games, but this team is just so bad that he has to score 32 points to just make, or 36 points to make sure they don't lose by 20 plus. So, again, it just all kind of cycles back to the frustration. Another guy I wanted to bring up had, again, I kind of want to focus because, like Peyton said, it just feels like, sometimes we talk the same kind of things to death, and so many people have moved on from this season. So, kind of honing in on some of the guys next year. Aiden Shaw did not have a good game in this one. In 14 minutes, he had 1 point, did have 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Didn't turn it over, but was a -12 on the box plus minus, which in 14 minutes, that's very indicative that he was not a plus on the floor. He might have a little bit longer to go than maybe we thought at points earlier this year. What are y'all's thoughts on his kind of start to conference play, what you need to see him improve? I think, Peyton, it was you said, we were talking during this game, it's got to be some sort of offensive bag he's got to get into.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's great he's gotten better at rebounding. I am glad he has improved in that. He's a good defender. I really think largely when it's just him on the perimeter, especially, I think he's about as locked down as you can find on the team. But he just is not giving you much of anything on offense unless it's a dunk once or twice a game, and he didn't even have that. I mean, like, he can't even shoot free throws right now. It's like, just, you cannot be as he just has nothing really that he can offer on offense right now that's not a dunk. And that's definitely, I wouldn't give up on Aiden Shaw. I think that's just the next step of the progression from him. That's like all he needs to work on in the offseason. And maybe then he can become a real, like, just bona fide SEC starter. But for now, I just don't think that really is what he is. The other bigs on the team, I mean, like, we saw a lot of Butler and Pierce. Again, largely, I don't think it was very good. I thought Butler in the first half actually played well. He looked a bit assertive. He used his size well at some points, but in the second half, I mean, he was getting kind of bullied.
Shaw had a good end to non-con play and had a great start to SEC play. I don't forget that as well. But when you look at the numbers, 5 for 6 against Central Arkansas, had 10 points. 7 for 8 against Georgia with 14 points. He's taken 3, 4, 5 shots over the last 4 games since that Georgia game, and he has a combined 5 points across those games, and a lot of that includes free throws. 3 of those points coming via the charity stripe. So it's just not been. I mean, he's not even taking shots anymore. It feels like either.
Yeah, and that I think quantifies what Peyton said, where a lot of those shots in those 10 and 14-point performances were dunks. He's able to, whether he's being a cutter and just getting a wide open dunk, or it's an offensive rebound he can put back. Yeah, there's no bag there. I don't trust him to self-create. He hasn't proven he can spot up and shoot threes. I mean, hell, he doesn't make free throws, so you got to start there before you go further away from the basket. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's time to give up on him. I mean, his athletic traits are too exciting and his defensive ability. Like, I think he had one of the best block rates in the country just like a week ago. So there's definitely not, you can't give up on him. I agree. I think the way Gabe put it, I think he put something on Power Mizzou. Shout out to Gabe, was like, the rest of this season, you maybe just throw him out there and just say sink or swim, man. Like, this is the time to go figure it out. When it's this season is a throwaway, it doesn't matter. You go in and you see what he can do. There's one more thing I wanted to bring up before we segue to just a look ahead at Texas A&M. And it's the thing that I think we've gone back and forth on, where, Gabe came on here and talked about it. And we know that Dennis isn't just going to phone it in and bench everybody who isn't a freshman and do all of this. But, he offered something interesting, I thought, where going ahead, do you increase? I know we haven't seen much. Peyton said it, out of Trent Pierce or Jordan Butler. Ant Robinson's kind of taken some steps back. But is it a situation where you say, all right, Sean East, Noah Carter, Nick Honor, you keep their minutes. They've earned them from what they did last year. And then, you kind of say to the rest of these guys who you brought in who aren't very good and also don't offer anything to the future of the program, whether it's a Carolero or a Vanover, and you throw these freshmen out there and also say, you know, their confidence is already so far down because this team is just bad. You know, do you let them try and figure something out, play them in consistently big minutes moving forward? Does that become more of a reality if this team's going to stay this bad?
At this point, sure. I mean, you're 0-5, which is just unbelievably depressing already. You might as well not be depressed with guys that add nothing to the future. Like, I thought Vanover was an interesting gamble for Gates. I actually liked that pickup.
I
Has
think
not
everyone
worked
did.
out. Yeah, it really hasn't worked out at all. I don't need to see Kurt Lewis play another minute for Mizzou. What does he do? I mean, he's just a guy that comes in, gets 5 minutes a game. The only time you notice him really is if he misses a shot. Like, that's just all he's providing at this point. There were 7 guys that played off the bench yesterday, and the bench combined to give you 7 points. Like, there's really not any quality coming off there as is. I mean, the minutes picked up for the freshmen yesterday, they might as well just keep doing that. I mean, obviously, guys like Noah Carter, Nick Honor, and Sean East, they're not going to lose their minutes, and nor really should they. You can't just throw the 3 true freshmen that have kind of not really showed much out there for 30 minutes a game. But at this point, like, I don't need to see Mabor Mayock touch the floor. I don't need to see Kurt Lewis touch the floor. I don't really need to see Vanover play another game here. I don't really even need to see, like, Carrolero's done some okay things. I don't really need to see Carrolero anymore. Like, because do we really think he's going to be, if Mizzou gets back to being an NCAA tournament contender next year, which I think you kind of have to start thinking has to be a must. I mean, is Carrolero part of that equation? I would guess no. So I don't really need to see much of him anymore either. I'm not saying cut him out entirely like some of the others, but I don't need to see more of him than I see of Pierce at this point.
So you would just go Shaw, and then the freshman would be your primary guys off the bench?
I would just let those guys go off the bench at this point.
I'm interested to see when Caleb Grill gets back as well. I think this team would be a lot better if Tanjay was healthy the whole year, didn't have the foot problem. Caleb Grill was around the whole time. Like I said last time, I think I said on Friday, there's a lot of swing games in there that things could have gone the other way if they had both of these guys at full strength.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, people make the argument like, oh, well, Caleb Grill was in against Jackson State and still lost. I'm like, I don't see how you can argue against that this team would be better if he was around. I like what Drew said. I honestly think, like, again, with how bad this team is, if you can do the thing with Caleb Grill where you can sit him and get that waiver and have him come back, I also think you probably do that, just because I do think he can offer something to next year's team. But what's up, Peyton?
I do want to, like, people also, like, they're focusing too much on Caleb Grill's, like, first 5 or 6 games.
Right.
He was like, you could tell he was starting to find his shot towards the end. I mean, the threes were starting to go in for him. I would almost like to see him come back just because maybe he's a guy you need to see, like, okay, do I want you on the – I'm pretty sure he still has eligibility next year. So he's a guy maybe you were like, do I want him on the team next year? Let me throw him back out there for a few games. Let me see what he is. But maybe it is just wiser to keep the medical red shirt. Plus, I mean, if he's not fully healthy, I don't see the point of bringing him back at like 90%. Let him get completely healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has any more eligibility because his first year was in 2019. So Drew talked with us about how he's right around the cutoff of games played before he can apply for a medical red shirt.
Yeah, it's one season. This is his last season if he doesn't.
Okay, so he does need a red shirt then.
Yeah, so that's why I think you do that. If you can give something, if you can get something from him next year, I think he's shown in flashes that he can be impactful. So that's something to look at. But I think I agree with Peyton. Like, you know, Jesus Carrolero, for some of the good he's done and a little bit of the good he's offered, like, at some point, you know, there's games where this guy's your third best player, and that can't happen. And like, if you're already at that point this year, he also, you know, he's not offering anything next year because he's old. Vanover's old. Kurt Lewis is old. Slash those guys' minutes, give it to the freshmen, throw them in the fire. It's not going to get any worse at this point, I think, which I don't think you could have said 3 weeks ago when we talked about this with Gabe. we still weren't sure, what this team would maybe do in SEC play. But now I think you're already at the point where you can kind of phone that in. Don't get rid of the minutes of the guys who contributed last year and see what the freshmen can do. I think that's maybe a good way to go about it. We'll see, what comes up. But yeah, it's been ugly. We'll see how many games this Texas, or sorry, I was looking at Texas A&M. I almost said this Texas A&M team, this Mizzou team can give. Maybe it starts at 8 p.m. here on Tuesday. They go back on the road against a very good Texas A&M team. They've kind of underperformed. Do have the SEC preseason player of the year in Wade Taylor. Kenny, I'll kick it to you. You have any thoughts on Tamu? Is that how you say it?
Tamu, yeah. I've watched the last 2 games.
Yep.
I don't really know why I did, but I watched both of them. And Wade Taylor, with Henry Coleman out against Arkansas, Wade Taylor just went off.
Mhm.
He scored 41 points in their 1-point loss to Arkansas last Tuesday, 78-77 on the road. Then they go on the road again to LSU on Saturday and escape, a game that LSU is biting at their heels, 73-69. He had 19 points in that game. Henry Coleman had about 11 minutes. Another guy that you want to keep your eyes on if he's going to get back into a regular rotation spot for the Aggies, because he didn't play in that Arkansas game, and then barely played in the LSU game. But Wade Taylor has just been unstoppable. He's averaging nearly 20 points a game this season, kind of doing it all. He takes a lot of shots too. It's not just that he scores. He just is probably their number one shot creator and just shot taker on this team. They're coming off some good games, though. They beat Kentucky last weekend, 97-92 in overtime. The Aggies are going back and forth with some good games here. It's going to be a pretty tough one for Mizzou.
Not to mention A&M has been like a house of horrors for Mizzou over the years. I mean, Mizzou has never played well there, it seems like. I don't really expect much from this game. Wade Taylor is really good. Henry Coleman, Kenny touched on both of them, very good players. Thinking about Wade Taylor too, he leads them in steals per game. So you got to watch out for that. I mean, John East, he's coming off kind of a turnover-laden game. Ant Robinson is obviously just a freshman, so there's a chance for him to really kind of create some havoc there. It's going to be kind of key for Mizzou to keep their hands on the ball, but we'll see what happens. I'm not expecting much of anything from this.
Yeah, me neither. It's a road SEC game. Taylor, I mean, he's competing. He was preseason SEC Player of the Year. He's going to be competing for that honor at the end of the year. It's interesting though. You look at the Aggies. Like, this is a team I think at this point we probably thought was going to be in a better position than they were this year. They've kind of underperformed some of the expectations. They went to the SEC championship last year and lost that game. But yeah, only other name I'll throw out there, their other guard, Tyrese Radford's very good. He averages like 13 a game. But yeah, it's the Wade Taylor show. Probably will be again on a Tuesday, excuse me. But yeah, 8 p.m. SEC Network. You can watch that game. We'll see what the Tigers can do. Last thing I forgot to mention. Huh?
Should I go to the game?
Yeah, you should go to the game. Represent us. Make the drive.
It's an hour and 13 minutes away.
It's not that bad. And it starts
No,
at 8.
it's not
Go
bad at
watch.
all.
It's later in the day. Go
not.
watch.
Yeah, it's 8
All right,
p.m. game.
Kenny might be there if you hear a guy screaming whenever A&M's at the free throw line.
I will say, Kenny, they're
look into
probably
it.
going to get killed, and you would be in the weirdest
only
fan
person.
base. Yeah, you'd also be in the weirdest fan base.
If you
Probably
do
in
go,
the country.
no disrespect to how Mizzou fans travel, because I think especially for football, it's pretty well. But like, if you go, Kenny, genuinely, you should count the number count the amount of black and gold you see in that stadium.
I'll do it.
Well,
Oh, okay, I'll go.
All right, Kenny's going. All right,
Kenny's
there we
going
go.
to the A&M game, folks.
Kenny will be there, 8 p.m. SEC Network. That'll be good. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was, or two things actually. Boys, we didn't mention the best performance of Saturday, which was that Red Panda. I heard went 15 for 15.
Hold up, I need
Yep.
to jump in here. The cheapest ticket to this game is $1.
Oh no!
I'm not even joking.
The
On what
Missouri
site?
Tigers,
Site?
folks, box
free ads.
office.
On SeatGeek, it's $1.
Dude,
$1.
Oh my
you get to go
gosh.
watch Wade Taylor for $1. That's pretty worth it.
Yeah,
in my
go to the
book. I'd
league,
go do
probably.
it. I'd go do it if I wasn't a fan of either of those teams. I think
I'd go do it if I
All
wasn't
right,
a
I'm
1,000
going.
miles away. All right, Kenny's going. Where are you sitting?
I might splurge here. It's $20 to
behind the
be
bench?
like right at the half court line.
You gonna go with anyone? Find a
I
buddy.
gotta see.
Yeah.
I'll let y'all know.
Me and Peyton would go, but Kenny's going. But yeah, best performance of Saturday, Red Panda, the GOAT. She performed in back-to-back Mizzou games because she did the Alabama game in Tuscaloosa and then did the men's and women's game in Columbia. So Red Panda loves the
Avid Mizzou
Tigers.
fan.
Yeah. Greatest halftime show ever. She went 50 for 15. Also, I should mention that Tamar Bates' 36 points was the first time since January 31st, 2021. Wait, Kenny, you didn't make this Ken Sports Shorts.
30th.
I did not.
Okay, good. All right,
January
good. Because this is
30th.
a January 30th, 2021, when Xavier Pinson did it in that overtime TCU game where every Mizzou arena game should have been packed for how fun that team was, but it was COVID, so they were all empty.
I still don't like Mark Smith for that game because two people yelled at Kenny and I because we were pointing out how terrible he was playing. I don't know. That's like the COVID games were so fun, like in their own way. They really were. Like it was sort of weird, but I kind of was like, this is kind of cool. Like it's almost like your own private show. But I agree with you, Knowlton. That team deserved a full arena, like for a lot of the season.
It led us on a deep dive. Like last night, we got that stat from Drew King, and a bunch of us were in a group chat, including Kenny and Peyton and I, and we were just reminiscing on old memories. I remember I would strategically choose because you couldn't guarantee a ticket to every game. I would pick like games that I knew like NBA prospects were going to play in Mizzou Arena and go to those to like say I watched them. But then you ended up watching a bunch of Mizzou wins. They went to tournament. Screw you, Austin Reeves.
That was fun. Fun year.
Very fun year.
Until the last like month.
I was so that's up there with the angriest I've ever been after that Oklahoma game. I got so mad.
I was pretty upset because Drew Smith was like the only one trying. I swear to God, he was the only one that looked like he wanted to.
Andrew Bugs.
Drew Bugs
was definitely
Drew
trying.
Bugs, dude.
Peyton and I got to see Shaka Smart's last game at Texas.
Yep.
If he wins that game, Tamar Bates might have gone to UT. That's what we need to talk about more.
Yeah.
Tamar Bates was committed to UT until Shaka was fired.
Yeah, ACU.
Kenny and I
ACU
saw what
Mizzou.
gave way to Tamar Bates.
Web.
Yeah.
That's a good web. Yeah. Austin Reeves, I still can't stand him for I had Oklahoma fans yelling at me outside of the stadium. They were pissing me off. Get the revenge in football in the fall.
Austin Reeves and Brady Manick, man. I will never forget those two just lighting Mizzou up. That was just awful.
Tough, very tough to watch. But that was a fun team. It was a fun year. Hopefully more fun times ahead for the Dennis Gates era. But with that, Kenny's going to the game. So if you're going to the game, go meet up with Kenny. And you can have two Mizzou fans in the building.
I'll be wearing the retro white jersey. I'll let you guys know now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Put a tweet out there.
To the Minnesota game.
Tweet your section number, seat, and home address. And then
I'm going to dox myself.
Yeah, dox yourself. With that, we will segue. Everyone, first of all, I didn't say in the intro, subscribe on the YouTube. We've appreciated all the love recently. Comment your favorite 2020-2021 Mizzou men's hoops memory because that was a fun team. And with that, we will segue and finish the show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. I thought I had accidentally stolen Ken's sports shorts for a second when I brought up that Xavier Pinson stat, but thankfully I haven't. So Kenny, what's Ken's sports shorts? Ken's sports shorts.
Well, you did kind of mention it earlier, but I don't think you guys are going to remember it right away. Okay, so when you go on the SEC stats page on any browser, it gives you like the regular like top 5 at different stats. There's like 6 categories. That's all they really keep track of for the top 5s, and then you'll go into every single player. Sorry, for basketball.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
And so there's points per game, assists per game, field goal percentage, rebounds per game, blocks per game, and steals per game. Mizzou is only in one of these. That's it, in the top 5 in one of these.
Teams? For the teams?
No, not even just team, a player. So there's only one player listed in the top 5 of all these stat categories. Which category is it? I can give you the categories again if you'd like.
I think I know it. Can I guess?
I think it's Shawnee's.
It's either that or it's Aiden Shaw blocks. And I only say that because I brought up
Oh,
Aiden Shaw's
yeah,
block
yeah.
rate earlier.
No, yeah, it's that one. Go with that.
Aiden Shaw
Peyton
blocks.
Shawnee is 9th in points per game at 15.9. Aiden Shaw is the only one
Yeah.
in blocks per game at 1.5.
Can I guess who are the 8 guards above him? Is Manjon above him?
I got to go back to it.
Oh,
Yes.
you know, is it Manjon is above him?
Manjon is not.
Oh,
Taylor is, yes.
okay. Taylor, Mark Sears. That might be all I know. Who's the kid for Ole Miss, Peyton? Flanagan? Alan Flanagan?
No,
Yes,
not-
yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Brakefield.
Or Morrell. Matthew Morrell, too, is good.
Or
Both of them
Morrell,
are.
yeah.
Both of them are. Not the
Who's
Arkansas guy.
Michi? Michi
Oh,
Johnson?
Michi Johnson.
Michi is, yes.
Yeah.
Connect,
Draymond Mark.
Dalton Connect.
Yes, both yes. Both yes.
I think that's like all of them. I don't know. I don't know.
One more, Kentucky.
Antonio Reeves.
Oh, Reeves.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's all 8.
It's very the SEC is very guard heavy. If there's one thing to know this year,
Guards win in March.
Yep.
For the blocks per game, there's 3 ahead: Jamarian Sharp, Johnny Broom, and Jonas Adu.
Adu,
from Tennessee.
yeah.
Adu.
Oh, Jamarian Sharp, who is good at basketball. What a shocker.
Adu had a good game.
Has how many blocks this season?
How many blocks total? Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot because like in the block rate stat I saw, he like had a. I don't want to guess like a stupid number though.
How many a game did he have? 1.5.
You do the math.
Okay, so that's 18 plus 9, 27.
Correct.
Bang! Well done, Peyton. Way to math. Way to math. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of defensive upside to like from Aiden Shaw, no doubt. Good sports shirts, Kenny. Right back to you. We were just talking off air about this. What's your dirty bird?
My dirty bird of the week goes to Jacoby Jones, and I had a field day going into this Texans game. Didn't end up the way that I wanted, but Jacoby Jones is very well known for being a Texan in the early 2010s and muffing a punt against the Baltimore Ravens in the 2013 divisional round. 2 years later, he was a Baltimore Raven, and he performed very well for them. Actually, it wasn't even 2 years later. It was the 2011 season is when this happened. And then the next season, he was with the Ravens. Went on to be a Super Bowl hero for them. He was the first ever wide receiver punt returner to return a kick for a touchdown and then have a receiving touchdown in the Super Bowl. Very well known for that. And he was honored before this game. I think more as a troll to the Texans because, I mean, he's a hero for the Ravens on both sides. But in this game for the Texans, the lone touchdown for Houston came via a punt return. And I am very grateful for Steven Sims, who returned that touchdown. Steven Sims probably wasn't going to be on that team if Noah Brown wasn't on IR and hurt, missing this game, elevating Sims for that opportunity, the only touchdown for the Texans. But I wanted to tell you guys that the last road game that Jacoby Jones was a part of for the Ravens before the 2014 playoffs, he was released after the 2014 season, was against the Texans, and he lost that game. After that, his stint with the Ravens, he signed a 2-year deal with the Chargers, only made it 8 weeks before they released him. His final game in a Chargers uniform was against who?
The Texans?
The Texans.
The Ravens, which I found pretty funny as well.
Yeah, that is still pretty good. Good
still
nugget, Kenny.
It's Jacoby Jones is someone I still do not like whatsoever. He is a ruiner of my childhood. Him and Randy Bullock are like two devils on your shoulder. Like there's no angel, it's just both of them. And they ruined a lot of things for me.
This is just good old fashioned deep cut, like, you know,
He's
Homer
also,
fandom. These guys piss me off.
The year the Ravens won the Super Bowl, he had that catch against the Broncos that the safety, I can't remember his name for sure, but he fell over because he misplayed the ball. There's the famous caught touchdown Jacoby Jones. Yeah, he was a Super Bowl champion, Kenny. Isn't that crazy?
Also something to note about that 2011 divisional game is that 2 plays later, the Ravens scored a touchdown. They won that game by a touchdown. Just imagine if Jacoby Jones just doesn't feel that punt.
TJ Hates would have been an AFC championship quarterback.
Kenny, this is the best spin zone of we didn't score an offensive touchdown in a playoff game ever. So well done. I'll give you that. Peyton?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Devils on my shoulder as well because the goddamn Cardinals signed Matt Carpenter over the weekend. Out of nowhere, there were no Matt Carpenter rumors, and all of a sudden he just signed a 1-year deal with the Cardinals. He could bat 140 going into some random June series against the Cubs, and he will hit 4 home runs in that series against the Cubs. I promise you. There will be some stupid back-breaking garbage against the Cubs from Matt Carpenter. They're my dirty bird. They are literally just, instead of improving the team, they're just playing the hits. Yachty retirement tour. Adam Wainwright is way past his prime retirement tour. Albert Pujols retirement tour. Matt Carpenter, time for you to retire. Let's give you a retirement tour. Lance Lynn, you're getting up there in age. Let's sign you and pretend you're a rotation upgrade. Maybe you'll retire at the end of the contract. The Cardinals are just the funniest Oregon sports right now. I mean, it's really the Cardinal way has never been more prevalent.
When I got that email from the Cardinals, just like mass communication email, I was like taken aback. I was like, oh, 1-day contract? This is a very nice gesture by the Cardinals to do it this early before the season starts. And then I was like, oh, well, they're bringing it back. They made a big deal last year about his return to Busch Stadium to face Wainwright at the time and getting a hit off of him and getting the baseball sign. Now he's going to put it above his bed at home. And now he's a Cardinal this year. I don't think there's a team in Major League Baseball that loves farewell tours than the Cardinals. Signing Pujols.
Yeah.
There's no other team that does it like that.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, Kenny, remind me to bet some sort of Matt Carpenter player prop when we get to best beats when they go into a Cubs series.
Yeah, I'll do that right now. I'm going to put it on my calendar, actually.
Yeah, write that down. We should remember that for best beats.
He's not writing that down.
I know he's not writing it down, Peyton. All right, well,
I'm actually going to do it. I'm looking up when the Cardinals and Cubs play each other. Do you want it at Wrigley or at Busch, Peyton?
At Wrigley. At
Wrigley. All right, yeah, do Wrigley.
Will hit a basket at Wrigley.
Okay. When is it?
If you can find one in June,
it's going to take me some time to find another.
Oh, okay.
One.
I'll do my dirty bird while you do that, because all right, you guys seem that's a lot of anger you got on your chest. I think perhaps my dirty bird might be able to cheer you up, fellas, because I'm going back to the Kansas Jayhawks for my dirty bird of the week. Kansas lost and has now lost 2 of their opening 3 or 2 of their last 2 Big 12 games. They're 3-2 now in Big 12 play. 2 losses. UCF, and most recently on Saturday at West Virginia. The Mountaineers are like 7-11 this year. Obviously, they had all the bad stuff happen with their coach. An off year, but they beat Kansas. No matter how bad Mizzou is, always great to see the Jayhawks lose. This is the kind of loss that follows a team. John Ross' team put it best. This could cost Kansas a 1 seed potentially in March, the way things shake out, which would be beautiful. They were playing country roads on West Virginia's court. Congrats to the Mountaineers. You're doing the Lord's work, beating the Jayhawks in January.
Yeah, new look Big 12. Is Bill Self built for this? I mean, he couldn't handle the tropics down in UCF.
The Knights.
0-1 down there now. Johnny Dawkins got the better of him. Also, actually, when you think about it, wins over UCF in the last 2 years. Missouri 1. Kansas 0.
DeAndre Golston 1, Kansas 0.
Yeah, exactly. So
and that UCF team last year getting more of a nerd, deep cut like nerd thing. They had a lottery pick on that team, Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah, Taylor Hendricks,
10th overall.
Yeah, and I think this current UCF team has like their highest rated recruit ever too. So like, weird web of stuff there. But what was I even talking about? Oh yeah, that's right. Kansas basketball being bad. Bill Self might not be built for this anymore. It really is like kind of a weaker Kansas team, I think, than what we're used to.
Yeah,
like, there's just not a lot of scoring. I don't know. I don't see that Kansas team as being one that's built for like a Final Four run. But you never can discount them.
No, but it's good. Always, in the words of Mr. Krabs, it warms my heart to see that little twerp fail. Speaking of Bill, or I'm speaking of
When
Bill.
did
Self.
he say that?
He did once. That's kind of a deep cut SpongeBob reference, but he did say that once. Kenny, did you find the date?
Yep. The first away series for the Cardinals at Wrigley Field is June 14th to the 16th.
There it is.
We have a
Okay.
show on that 14th. We record on Thursdays before this Friday's shows. Would you like me to remind you on June 13th to bet on Matt Carpenter?
Yes. Remind me on June 13th to bet some sort of Matt Carpenter prop to hit a home run or
I
whatever.
know that's a tough day for you as well, so
Oh my
we'll
God.
make
All
it a
right.
little bit easier.
We're moving on. Next segment. You're ridiculous. I'm gonna put you in this.
Uh-oh. Kenny, what time is it, Kenny? What time is it, Kenny? Kenny, what time
It's
is it?
fraud o'clock, Jack. Let's take it off.
We're starting off the fraud ranking, staying in the college basketball ranks. We're going to Cameron, where the Cameron frauds watch their Duke mighty fraud devils lose to the Pittsburgh Panthers. Duke was ranked number 7 in the country. Pittsburgh marched in there. They had a guy jumping on the scores
Blake
table. The Cameron
Hinson.
fraudsters, they were flipping off the bird. Blake Himson, or like the devil's fraud.
Number 4. Hey, Kenny. My name's Jacoby Jones. I still own you. The Baltimore Ravens. You taken down CJ.
Get back in here.
CJ Froud.
CJ Froud.
And the Fraudsons. Bobby Proudick. Froderico Fraudens. The Texans couldn't even make it inside the 25 in this game. How poor is that?
No offensive touchdowns.
Their only touchdown came from a Kansas Jayhawk. The Texans, number 4 on the fraud watch.
Rodamico Ryans. Better luck next year.
Number 3 in the fraud rankings. We're going back to Mizzou Arena, where the Mizzou Tigers broke out some gold uniforms for a nice color rush competition with the Florida Gators. New jerseys, same old problems. New jerseys are your frauds of the week.
I bought one of these too. Always
dancing on the new jerseys.
Number 2, I've waited for this one a long time. Jordan Love was trying to be on a YouTube highlight reel instead of winning a playoff game. We're going with Jordan Love. Only Jordan Love. Not the Packers, just Jordan Love at number 2 in the fraud rankings. Fraud and Love. He wasn't built for it, man. He finished with less than 200 passing yards on the game. Call him Justin Fields. Jordan Love, you suck!
And at number 1, we're staying in Santa Clara because the Green Bay Fraudkers are number 1. The 7th seed, the Cinderella team. No contraire, they get owned by the 49ers and Brock Purdy. Jordan Love, first-round pick. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. Jordan Fraud can't get it done, just as Peyton said. He's trying to be Mahomes on that last play. The Fraudkers lose.
This is not Detroit yet. That would maybe be the next round, man. This is the NFC divisional round against the 1 seed Brock Purdy-led San Francisco 49ers. Packers are frauds.
Fraud pack. Fraud. Well done. I think the song's going to have this second, so I'm going to let it go. Oh, no, it's not. All right, there we go. Fraud rankings. Well done. Ratio. Sorry, kidding. I thought I heard you about to say something else.
Nope. I got 2 ratios.
All right, go for it.
Ratios of the weekend brought to you by Justin Bear. The first one goes to Griff on X, Blue Jays fan. Quote tweeted the Baltimore Orioles posting, "The time is now. Best of luck in the playoffs at Ravens." That post got 5.2 thousand likes. Griff quote tweeted with Baltimore 1 seed versus a Texas team after a bye ? And got 11,000 likes. The reference to that is that when the Orioles had a bye in the MLB playoffs, they came out and faced the Texas Rangers. Practically weren't even there because the Rangers stomped them, went on to win the World Series. Didn't go that way in the football world. I have a secondary one as well that just kind of popped up for me. Dallas sports fan, a pretty annoying account on Twitter or X. Man, it was Houston Texans playoff run. Aaron Rodgers running out with the American flag on Monday Night Football for the Jets. 7.3 thousand likes, kind of got ratioed a little bit with 1,000 replies. But then Tony, who's a sad H-Town sports fan, Sports One on X, quote tweeted with a Fox NFL graphic saying playoff wins since 2002 in the state of Texas. The Texans with 5 and the Cowboys with 4. I don't know how the Cowboys can make fun of the Texans at all. Texans made it 1 round further. I don't get it. 16,000 likes.
Maybe you can take sad H-Town sports fan Tony with you to the A&M game, Kenny. Make a new friend.
See what team he roots for.
College team. Yeah,
While
good
you
ratio.
do that, this one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, Have you ever had a bad sausage?
A bad sausage?
A bad sausage.
No, I can't say I've ever had a bad sausage.
It's the worst. Like
like
WQRST.
bratwurst.
Yeah, like
Oh, yeah.
bratwurst. It's the worst.
Have you guys ever been to an Oktoberfest?
No, I haven't.
You guys should go.
No.
They're very fun. Good one, Peyton. What?
Of course you think that. Sorry. It was just a crummy dab, you know.
Yeah, whatever. All right, we're ending the show. Everyone, if you're at the A&M game, go find Kenny. He'll be there. One of 3 of the unwritten rule will be in attendance. See if Mizzou can maybe pull the upset on Tuesday. We'll recap that. Honestly, hopefully we have the DC hire before next show. I will start to get a little concerned if that doesn't get finalized pretty soon, as I'm sure other Mizzou fans will. But until then, everyone have a fun and safe week. This show has been presented by Bet Online. Go enjoy the Texas A&M game, Kenny, and we'll see everyone on Friday.